Welcome to another episode of Wellbeing Wednesday. And this week again, I'm with the lovely Ian Stevenson. Those of you that saw last week's episode will know that Ian has been amazing in talking about his attempt to take his own life in May last year. So now we're going to talk a little bit about where you're at now, what led there. And one of the things that I find really interesting, and I think will help people understand. People say that when you're an alcoholic, you are always an alcoholic, you just don't drink. And earlier on, I said to you, do you think you would ever make a further attempt on your life? And that led to a really interesting conversation about medication and all kinds of things. So tell us where you're at now and how you feel about that.
Okay. It's hard to identify where to start, really. I'm an ex-smoker, so I understand the concept of once you have an addiction or a predilection to do something, then you can easily fall back into that. Yeah. I understand the difficulties and struggles of doing that. And whilst I can't categorically 100% say that I will never attempt to take my life, I think the possibility that happens is extremely remote. Mm-hmm. I've come a hell of a long way in the last 12 months, and I've learned a lot about me as a person and how I work and how my brain works and how I deal with things. And I've worked with some tremendous people in relation to that as well, who've really, really helped. So for me, though, go on, sorry.
I was going to say, going back to the beginning, immediately after the attempt on your life, your GP just upped some medication.
Yes, so I've been on fairly, I guess, a medium dose of antidepressants, and had been for a while. The reaction to my suicide attempt was to increase the dosage of those medicines, and I blindly accepted that and went along. And what happened as a result of that actually exacerbated and made worse how I actually felt in myself. And I didn't know it at the time, and I didn't actually link it to the increase in the meds at first, but I would be able to sleep for 12 hours, and I would wake up, get up, and I would feel exhausted, absolutely wiped out. I lacked the ability to focus and strategize and do things. I struggled through basic things, like, I always made sure that I showered every day and things like that. But you enter this sort of spiral of ill health in many respects, in as much as you have little interest and little focus in doing anything. And then because of that, you go, well, okay, I'll pick up a packet of sweets or something like that. And it starts with a biscuit or 2 biscuits. It becomes a packet of biscuits. And then you find there's something, everyone's got something that they just really enjoy, especially food-wise. For me, my weakness is chocolate and ice cream. And I found myself eating a tub of ice cream nearly every day. Piled on the weight. You can still see it there, it's there. And I put on probably 3 stone in weight, which is massive. It's a huge amount. And as that increases, that you become heavier, you become more lethargic because your body's got to work harder. It becomes this negative spiral of inactivity. So you do less, you feel like doing less, so you do less again, and it just gets worse and worse. To the point that getting out of bed in any day became a struggle. It was hard work some days, just to force myself out of bed. And some days I didn't, some days I just stayed in bed all day because I couldn't face the world, and I didn't want to face the world. And this was with the added meds.
I was going to say, so the medication that was supposed to help you was actually driving you further down that rabbit hole.
And I didn't realize that until I basically made a mistake in ordering my repeat prescription, and I ended up going 5 days without the meds. And I had no meds, and initially I was concerned about that and the effect that would have on me. By the end of that 5 days, I was feeling more alive and more awake and more with it, and I felt more focused at certain times. And so I dug out the leaflet that you're supposed to read before you start taking it, and
That we all do, of course.
But they generally have fairly generic, wide-ranging side effects and concerns, etc., which your doctor will have gone through the most worrisome, like, are you a diabetic or whatever, and if you're a diabetic you can't do it, are you pregnant, you can't do that, etc.
Yeah.
I wasn't pregnant, but but the one of the big side effects was fatigue, and I was feeling fatigued, and I suddenly was feeling more fatigued after doubling the dose of the meds. And having stopped taking them, I discovered, was that causing my fatigue? And I basically stopped taking them. I was then prescribed a different drug, and I tried that, and I took 1 tablet of that, and it was such a mind-altering effect. I felt totally disconnected to life and my body. That was the reaction I had with it. Others it will work fine for, and others it will maybe even have a worse effect. I don't know, but I decided that that was it, and I wasn't going to do it anymore.
I think it is important, sorry, to say at this point that neither of us are advocating if you are prescribed medication by your GP and it's working for you. We're not advocating stop taking it. And we're certainly not advocating if you feel you need some support from your GP, go to your GP. But maybe just question their choice of drug for you a little bit further. Because, I mean, I take antidepressants. I've been on antidepressants now for a couple of years, and they work fine for me. But my situation and my depression was at a very different level to yours. So I think it's about finding what's right for the individual.
Everything's a balance. I think everything in life is a balance, and medication is a balance, and it's a tool in the toolbox of making yourself better. But it is a tool.
What was the light bulb moment for you? What made the huge difference for you? Because I know this is something that you want to share.
The huge difference was being interested in stuff again, being interested in things that I previously loved doing, but hadn't done for ages because I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
You know, I used to love going fishing. I used to love going out walking with my camera. I'm a photographer, I'm a commercial photographer, but my hobby, one of my hobbies, is wildlife photography. And just taking a camera and walking in the countryside and taking photographs of birds and wild, you know, generally wild deer and things like that, that connecting to nature, space, freedom, fresh air, suddenly I'm actually doing those things again. And I haven't done them for over a year, more than that actually. And that again is another tool in the toolbox, is finding those things that interest you, and sometimes even forcing yourself to do that. Force yourself to go and do whatever it is, whatever hobby you used to enjoy, go and do it. Go and do it for just half a day or a day or an hour, and it will make a difference. Whether it's cross stitch, walking, fishing, hunting, hiking, whatever it is, just go and do it.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And I think for me, the whole thing around mental well-being is enabling yourself to do the things that you love. Like you say, whether it's craft, whether it's running a marathon, whether it's fishing, whatever it is, I think it's really, really important. Ian, thank you so much again for sharing. And we've got one final episode together next week. I
know, I can't believe I've spoken so much.
Really honoured, and thank you again so much for joining us. And if you want to contact Ian, especially about his photography, there's a link in the comments. Have a great day.
Thank you.